I am delighted to warmly welcome all of you to the new brand launch of the Caribbean Association of Banks. This is an auspicious moment in the history of the CAB, and we feel privileged to have you celebrate this event with us. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our board of directors who are represented here this afternoon. Of course, you know our beloved chairperson, Miss Joanna Charles, who is at the head table. We have Mr. Rolf Phillips, who represents, and also I should say that Joanna is the chair of the CAB, but also representing East Caribbean Financial Holdings Company. So we have Rolf Phillips from Consolidated Finance, Barbados. Rolf is the head of our advocacy committee as well. He's the chair. Mrs. Moya Lieber Barnes, JMMB Bank, Jamaica Limited, from Jamaica. Mr. Richard Sammy, Republic Bank Guyana Limited. Mr. Mark Anderson, First Global Bank Limited in Jamaica. And the directors who are not able to be here with us, I'd still like to mention their names, and we have Mrs. Evelyn Wayne and representing CARICOM on the board, the CAB. We also have Mr. Brian Wu, who is representing First Citizens Bank Limited, Trinidad. And I think Donald Thompson should have landed already. He's probably on his way. And he represents St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank. And of course, our vice chairperson, Mr. Keith Johnson, Republic Bank Grenada.
Okay, a very warm welcome to all of you for joining us in the new brand launch of the CAB, the Caribbean Association of Banks. Today marks an important milestone in the history of the association, and I am delighted that you honored the invitation to share this momentous occasion with us. It would be remiss of me to proceed without first expressing sincere sympathy and condolences to the families who were torn apart by the passing of Hurricane Irma and Maria. Our thoughts and prayers are with them at this time, particularly our members in Antigua and Barbuda, the British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, and Dominica. These weather conditions serve as a poignant reminder of the vulnerability of the region and the challenges we face from the impact of natural disasters, climate change, and the implications these have for the economic growth and well-being of the region. These are very challenging times, but I'm confident that the resilience of our Caribbean spirit will provide the necessary strength and determination to survive. Similar to our regional economies, the financial industry is vulnerable to external shocks, and as a consequence, it is necessary to pool our resources and come together in order to survive. It is in this context that the CAB was formed in 1974 out of a decision by the 8th meeting of the heads of CARICOM Government Conference in 1973 and the inaugural meeting of the Standing Committee of Ministers responsible for finance. The mission of the Caribbean Association of Banks is, and I quote, to proactively influence matters of interest to financial institutions through advocacy and education. And it is guided by the following main pillars of its value proposition, and these are effective advocacy, premier networking platform, facilitation of industry cooperation and harmonization, reliable and relevant source of information, facilitation of industry-specific education and training, benefits of economies of scale through cost reduction and sharing of services. Some of you may be wondering what our accomplishments have been, and there are many, and I will just highlight some of them. On the issue of advocacy, the CAB has advocated on issues such as harmonization of the region's regulatory and legislative framework, correspondent banking, a very topical issue, and the perception of the region as high risk and tax havens, credit bureau and foreclosure legislation, to name a few. The more pressing of these has been the de-risking issue or the loss of correspondent banking relationships by banks in the region. De-risking refers to the phenomenon of foreign financial institutions terminating or restricting business relationships with banks. Many of our national banks have been subjected to de-risking. Currently, some of them have no relationships at all, or they have a reduced number of relationships. The importance of correspondent banking to our Caribbean economies cannot be underestimated. Correspondent banking relationships are essential to facilitate trade in goods and services such as tourism, manufacturing, agricultural industries, as well as foreign direct investments. It also facilitates the flow of remittances on which many households depend for their livelihoods. Consequently, the loss of these services can destabilize our economies and severely impact the lives of our citizens. The CAB has advocated on this issue by engaging stakeholders at the highest levels, such as the CDB, the CARICOM Secretariat, the IMF, the FATF, SWIFT, the World Bank, and regional central banks. We have also collaborated with a UK correspondent banking services provider, which has provided these services to some of our members in the interim. The CAB continues to source other correspondent banking providers to widen the options available to members. We are pleased, however, that there has been some shifts in the de-risking trend. Correspondent banking now give their respondents longer notice periods before proceeding to de-risk them. The gravity of the situation, however, is by no means lessened as a loss of correspondent banking relationships continue, and many Caribbean banks remain unable to acquire U.S. correspondent relationship. Training and education for members is of paramount importance to build capacity within the sector so as to better serve our customers. In this respect, the CAB conducts industry-specific training via workshops and webinars on areas of relevance. Additionally, the CAB has established an online credit skills academy which provides certification to members in credit risk management. The CAB also awards scholarships, and I saw it rolling on the screen a while ago, to employees of its members to pursue BScs and MScs in banking and finance at regional and international institutions. In order to mitigate the several risks banks face, such as cybercrime, fraud, professional liability, etc., the CAB has established a group insurance scheme in partnership with an international insurance provider at very competitive pricing. While much has been done by the CAB, the dynamics of the financial industry continues to evolve and is challenged continuously by issues. Some of these are increasingly demanding legislative and regulatory frameworks to combat money laundering and terrorist financing activities. Emergence of the fintech revolution, which is challenging the traditional ways banks do business. Very high non-performing loans due to stagnant economic growth and other factors. High rates of unemployment. High risk perception of the region as tax havens. The challenge for CAB, therefore, is to remain relevant and in accordance with its vision, and that is to be the collective voice that protects, promotes, and strengthens the regional banking sector. What is the next step for us? Our next step is really to consolidate our gains and achievements and continue to work towards our strategic objectives and pursue the following in the coming year. The CAB will continue to build its internal and external capacity for advocacy, communication, and training by strengthening its financial, human, and technological resources, as well as by forging strategic partnerships and alliances. The CAB will advance discussions on the development of a centralized compliance hub to reduce the cost of compliance and strengthen the AML CFT framework of regional financial institutions. The CAB recently facilitated discussions between 40 of its members and a potential provider of that service. We will continue to build the capacity of the compliance framework of the region, or the region's financial institutions, through training workshops, webinars, and information sharing. We will continue to advocate on the following issues. 1, the harmonization of the region's regulatory and legislative framework. De-risking, the perception of the region as high risk and a tax haven. foreclosure legislation. We have the minister here who has promised that they will work on St. Lucia's foreclosure legislation and regional credit reporting. The CAB will focus on making greater use of up-to-date technological tools and media for the delivery of training and education to the sector. We at the CAB, we believe that it is opportune for all stakeholders to work towards the development of a regional payment system, similar to the one which exists in the SICA countries of Latin America. And this would reduce reliance on international correspondent banks significantly. It currently exists in the DR and a few of the other islands where they are trading partners with each other. It would reduce the length of the regional payments chain, improve settlement times, and subsequently be integrated into the Latin American system, thereby serving as a catalyst for growth and development in the LAC countries. The Caribbean has commenced preliminary research in this regard, and CAB is heading the discussions on that matter. In order to successfully implement its strategic objectives, the CAB recognized the need for the development of a communications and marketing strategy to guide its advocacy and PR efforts. Accordingly, we have developed our new branding, which includes a new logo and tagline, which will be revealed later, a public awareness campaign, and the objective of that is to promote CAB's activities, encourage greater membership, industry and private sector involvement, and a new user-friendly and informative website. These initiatives can only be achieved by continuing to collaborate with our members, public and private sector and other stakeholders, which are the raison d'etre for CAB's value proposition. This address would not be complete without recognizing the support and encouragement we have received from our members, directors, and our partners. We acknowledge the contributions of all stakeholders and appreciate all those who have contributed to the work of the association. We acknowledge our past chairpersons, and I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Robert Nostrom, who is one of the pioneers of CAB. Could we just give him? I'd also like to acknowledge our present board, which has been a critical pillar of success. Their abilities and experience have guided the association throughout the years. We recognize the support given to us by our partners, such as the IMF, the World Bank, the IDB, the CDB, CARICOM, and central bank regulators. We also acknowledge the support of the general manager and staff of the secretariat. Mary and her team have been doing a fantastic job, who work assiduously to ensure the efficient operation of the secretariat. And finally, on behalf of the board, I thank all who give their unstinting support to the CAB. As we embark on this new journey, above all else, we give thanks to God for leading us thus far and guiding us into the future. Once again, thank you for celebrating this new chapter of CAB with us. Thank you.
At this juncture, I would like to call upon the Senator, the Honorable Dr. Ubaldus Raymond.
I am delighted to be here this afternoon at the press launch of the Caribbean Association of Banks, CAB's, new brand and new website being unveiled today. I sincerely appreciate the invitation to address you, and on this occasion, I would like to share some thoughts on the challenges confronting the vital financial sector and the way forward as we navigate through an uncertain global economic and technologically driven environment which characterizes the 21st century. However, first, let me congratulate the management and staff of the Caribbean Association of Banks for organizing and hosting this event. This afternoon's gathering not only brings together key players in the financial sector around the region, but represents a commendable effort towards adapting to the changing environment in which you operate, which imposes new demands on banks and other financial institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the financial system of the Caribbean, particularly local banks, has had to contend with a myriad of challenges since the adverse spillover effects of the global financial crisis first emerged in 2008-2009. Some of these challenges and realities include 1. Compromised balance sheets with high non-performing loans and increased requirements for provisioning, weak credit growth due to timid economic activity with limited opportunities for bankable projects, excessive liquidity and lower lending rates which have resulted in low productivity, prompting increases in fees and charged by banks. 2. Capital adequacy concerns. 3. Heightened international scrutiny of the financial system and mandatory regulations have increased operating costs, negatively impacting confidence and triggered pangs of uncertainty. And 4. The need to better leverage the use of ICT into banking operations for cost efficiencies in the future. Notwithstanding, there is reason to feel optimistic that these challenges can and are being tackled in a manner which has redounded to a stronger, more resilient and responsive banking system. Indeed, almost a decade after the global crisis and the Clico-Bico debacle, through persistent efforts at balance sheets repair, there are now indications of recovery and improvement of financial soundness indicators, which is encouraging and augurs well for greater confidence in the system. A look at non-performing loans data for the ECCU region shed some light on how the sector has performed. In the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, NPLs peaked at 18.1% of gross loans at the end of 2013, and as at end June 2017 are down at 11.2%. Through your arduous efforts at balance sheet repair, this is a step in the right direction, not an easy feat. The issuing write-offs and need for provisioning have in some instances affected capital adequacy. Although most countries in the region have experienced positive economic growth over the last year or two, recent devastating events of hurricanes Irma and Maria point to the fragility and vulnerability of the region and the need for cohesion, particularly within the financial community. In the context of increasingly global integrated financial systems, there are new requirements and demands impacting our small jurisdictions, such as global responses to rising incidents of financial crimes, cybersecurity, and AML-CFT concerns, which have led to losses of increased costs of corresponding banking relationships. The increasing use of technology for financial innovation with the emergence of digital and cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, pose additional challenges and other concerns as electronic platforms which can potentially revolutionize how financial intermediation is done. Rapid advancements in technology also offer new avenues for financial crimes to be facilitated, posing additional risks and pressures on our financial regulatory system to maintain soundness. For this reason, our banking regulations and supervision must be in a state of readiness to respond to risks inherent with new modalities and financial products. It is difficult to ignore the risks that are emerging on every front for your businesses with rising fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and other financial crimes, which receive growing and intense scrutiny by the international community. The potential growth and success of the financial sector are threatened. What is crucial is how we respond to and embrace emerging risks to mitigate negative consequences to the financial sector. How we leverage such risks for growth and advancement is also critical. your institutions, with the help of CAP or CAB, are encouraged to develop robust risk assessment and management frameworks for identifying and mitigating ongoing risks that could prevent you from achieving your business objectives. Enhanced risk management must therefore be given high priority in your strategic operational plans. In addition to moves by regulators for implementation of prudent practices and risk-based supervision, including stress testing, the challenges faced by the financial sector have prompted government action. These include regulatory reforms to enhance legislative and regulatory measures in order to adhere to international standards and best practices for the preservation of the integrity of our financial system. With the expansion of citizen by investment programs throughout the region, the financial sector can partner with the governments to find ways to cater to or respond to any risks associated with this new reality. Relatedly, to protect our region's image, government's efforts have been stepped up to strengthen due diligence mechanisms and compliance with money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism, AML, CFT regulatory frameworks. Additionally, in recent times, governments in the ECCU have been pursuing a number of initiatives to promote financial sector stability, which include enacting a new banking act, advanced plans to enact insolvency legislation, foreclosure legislation in St. Lucia, a harmonized credit bill and establishment of regional credit bureau, tax agreements for automatic exchange of information and compliance with FATCA and OECD common reporting standards. Maintaining the integrity of the financial system and rebuilding confidence is an imperative if the private sector in the region is to grow, to be innovative and assist in transforming that region's economy. We must stress the vital role financial institutions play in our economies. Given the importance of the financial sector to growth and development of the region, there is need for high priority to be given to efforts to satisfy the various international standards and regulations. It is for these reasons that CAB can play an instrumental role in contributing to the strengthening of the financial system as we chart our course forward to further developing our region. Against the backdrop of weak banks in the region, our small jurisdictions can ill afford further financial stress. We have no choice but to err on the side of financial stability and soundness of our system. Financial institutions need to remain vigilant, share information, and advocate when necessary for policy and legislative responses to challenges as they arise. I call on financial institutions to be mindful that credit to private sector is critical to driving economic growth and development. There is a great need to direct credit to growth enhancing and investment activities and projects, and not just to finance personal consumption and to drive up our import bill. With these few words, it is my hope that our new website, or that your new website and brand takes CAB closer to achieving its mandate and imbues a new sense of optimism and confidence among your members. I have no doubt that CAB will continue to bring financial sector to work closer together in addressing common problems. Our policy response to these issues has to be collaborative and transformational. It cannot be business as usual. We need to embrace change. Options for increased efficiencies may necessitate strategic partnerships, risk sharing, and bank amalgamation amongst indigenous financial institutions. Although we do not choose the global conditions within which we operate, we do have to respond to these challenges and craft an agenda going forward together as a regional family to implement appropriate strategies to ensure the growth becomes more sustainable. It is in this context that CAB and by extension, the wider financial sector have pivotal roles to play. Finally, I would like to express my best wishes to CAB CAB as you continue your efforts in disseminating relevant information to your members in a timely manner such that proactive strategies can be adopted. I wish you a successful press launch, and I urge participants to endeavor to continue to comply with the mandatory international regulatory requirements to help build resilience and strengthen the stability of the financial system in the region. Your efforts will redound not only to the benefit of your customers, employees, and shareholders, but will also contribute to the further development of the private sector and the economies of the region. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
And now I would like to call upon Director Rolf Phillips, who is going to take us through the unveiling of the new brand and website.
Thank you, Mary. It gives me great pleasure to, as the Director with responsibility for strategy and advocacy for the Caribbean Association of Banks, to introduce the new logo for the Caribbean Association of Banks. So, ladies and gentlemen, our new logo. And this new logo and brand slogan represents an evolution in the life of CAB. Our chairman, Joanna, provided a history of CAB, starting with the mandate from CARICOM, bringing what initially was the indigenous banks together across the region to focus on strengthening the industry overall. And CAB's role has continued to evolve. The Secretariat has strengthened tremendously, and CAB has found itself, driving a whole lot of responses to a very difficult period for the industry, as well as driving a lot of efficiencies and bringing new products and services to the banking sector across the region. At this stage, with this new logo, CAB's function is about to has been evolving, and with our new strategic direction, we expect to take that a whole lot further and to do a whole lot of a better job of engaging with not just our industry partners and members, but with the publics who depend on banks to be stable and to keep the industry looking forward and providing products and services that are cutting edge and are needed by the industry. In terms of what's changed about our logo, you'd have been seeing our solid blue logo before. We've retained a lot of blue in our coloring because blue in our business communicates significance, importance, and confidence, and it's considered a highly corporate color and also associated with stability and unity. For us, dark blue is also seen as elegant, rich, sophisticated, and intelligent. So those colors mean something to us at CAB and to our members. Green is associated with meanings of growth, harmony, and safety, and also associated with money, finances, ambition, and banking. The negative spaces takes the shape of a triangle or pyramid, and it symbolizes strength and stability. Its upward movement denotes power, progression, purpose, and direction. And the silver in the lettering of our name symbolizes riches and wealth, and it's sleek, high-tech, and modern. So that's the thinking behind the colors in our name and our symbol. In terms of our slogan, CAB felt the need to come up with a refreshed slogan that connects all of the activities that we undertake on behalf of the industry and the way we intend to operate going forward. So a new slogan of keeping the industry proactive, protected, and profitable is really well chosen based on the period that the financial industry and certainly CAB finds itself in. Proactive is an important part of our slogan. CAB's advocacy efforts so far have been focused internally on its members and connected partners within the industry. But a lot of people in the public in our countries don't know of the Caribbean Association of Banks. So CAB, as part of our proactive advocacy, really wants to take our work much more public and involve not just our partners in the industry, but the publics all across the region that we serve. So CAB will publish views on everything that's happening financial in the region so that we can keep our members and our publics informed and educated about what's going on in banking and financial services. Our clients are demanding new and cutting-edge products from us, and CAB has been doing a great job of bringing products and services through our conferences and our training efforts to our members so that they could keep at the cutting edge of developing products to meet the needs of our public. I mean, we still have a very large underserved portion of our public who still struggle to obtain the kinds of products and services that they need from banks. Our small business segment across all the region, for example, which we say is the bedrock of our communities, is still quite underserved in terms of financial and credit products from banks. So some of the work that we are doing to work with governments and regulators to introduce credit bureaus, for example, will put banks in a whole lot of a better position to assess credit from some of the areas that we currently struggle with because of a lack of information. So that's a role that CAB intends to play a whole lot more. With Protected, we chose Protected for all the reasons that the minister mentioned in his speech, in that at one point banks only feared being held up by robbers coming into a physical space with guns and demanding cash. Now the greatest risks to banks involve failure to meet regulatory standards and facing massive fines or from regulators, or potentially losing the license to operate. Banks are also at great risk for electronic fraud and money laundering, and need to be to have the systems that are capable of delivering the kind of protection that our industry needs. And CAB again plays a great role in bringing best practice to our members and also educating the public to be aware of the things that they need to look out for to keep themselves protected. So CAB's communication is going to do a lot more to both educate our public and to bring products and services to help keep the industry protected. And finally, profitability. And profitability is, in some respects, a dirty word when the public looks at financial institutions, because they see us as companies that pay a little bit of interest and charge high rates for loans and then charge high fees. But I think the importance of the banking industry has never been more, become more important than now. I think with banks, so many banks facing failure over the last couple of years, and access to banking services coming under threat, I think the continued survival and the importance of banks is at the forefront, and I think CAB has a huge role to play in keeping banks profitable by helping them to write good credit risk, to meet all the standards that they need to meet as far as regulation is concerned, and certainly to look for opportunities to form collaboration across members, including collaborations with other types of entities. So CAB is playing a huge role and intends to play an even bigger role in keeping our industry profitable, so that we can continue to provide the support that for the areas that the minister mentioned in his speech that are so important to the banking industry. So our slogan, keeping the industry proactive, protected, and profitable, is going to underpin all of CAB's work and our efforts in communicating both to our members and the public over the next period. A big part of our communication, because we're a regional organization, is going to be through our website and social media platforms. And I want to introduce you to a couple of slides from our website. We are not all up and ready to go with this new web design. In another week or so, we should be all finished. And we'd encourage you then to go onto our website and to explore how we present CAB's work and CAB's ongoing work to our publics. So this is what our website is going to look like. And there's our mission to protect, promote, and strengthen the regional banking sector. Our new look and new layout is simplistic and modernized, which will enable easy navigation for a more user-friendly experience. We have a knowledge center on our website, which is going to be updated with resources filled with all pertinent, up-to-date information and financial tools. So we intend for the CAB website to be the place that you go to find out what's happening in every single country around the region as far as financial services, products and services and regulation. And CAB will make sure that our website has resources that everybody from university students to members of the public to institutions looking from overseas like the IMF and the World Bank to find out what is happening in the industry in the Caribbean, to be able to go to CAB's website and find papers that are produced by our members, by our secretariat, which would help to inform research on the industry in the Caribbean. Our next area, we'd have a whole section for latest news and upcoming events, and this would help to keep our members and the public up to date and abreast with training and seminars which CAB organizes locally and regionally. And finally, social media integration, in that we will be optimizing our presence on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where we hope to stay connected with our stakeholders to maintain interest and communication in the world of banking and finance. So we really encourage you to go to our website, to share our website. We're going to be seeking to link our website with many other financial services providers across the region. CAB has been in the process of signing MOUs with all of the regional banking associations so that we can really connect the banking industry regionally, and you can access all of that information via, or you will be able to access all that information via CAB's website. A critical part to all of this is for CAB to have a stronger secretariat. I think to a large part, we have been playing a defensive catch-up role in the past and responding to changes in regulation and other things that impact the industry. CAB is now moving its role to become a whole lot more strategic, and we expect to have capacity within our within our secretariat, both on a contracted basis and on a permanent basis, to enable us to initiate change that would influence CAB's objective as we seek to be the representative of the banking industry in the Caribbean. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for being here, and I'm really pleased to introduce you to CAB's new logo and brand statement as we seek to keep the industry proactive, protected, and profitable. Thank you very much.
So in closing, I would like to thank all of you who have worked tirelessly to make this event possible. The board of directors of the CAB, the staff of the secretariat, the media, Tapas. But I would really like to thank, on behalf of the board, Agnes Francis and her team from Axela. I really would like you to stand and get, I want you to see you, Agnes, and your team, So I thank all of you again, for coming.